Good morning, friends. There are things in our lives, often unnoticed, that invite the very darkness we seek to avoid. We may assume that evil must be visible, loud, and obvious, but more often than not, it enters quietly, disguised as something harmless. A book collecting dust on a shelf, a small statue gifted by a friend, a song on repeat in the background. These things can carry unseen consequences. The unseen battle is real, though many choose to ignore it. The physical world we see is only part of reality. Beyond it lies a spiritual realm, where forces of light and darkness are constantly at work. While some dismiss these matters as superstition, those who have encountered spiritual warfare firsthand know that what we cannot see can still affect our lives in profound ways. From the very beginning, there has been an enemy seeking to corrupt, deceive, and destroy. He does not always attack in obvious ways, but often works subtly, influencing minds, planting thoughts, and using physical objects as tools to gain access into our lives. In Bible we are said that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, authorities, and powers of darkness in the spiritual realm. This means that much of what we face, sudden oppression, confusion, fear, or repeated cycles of destruction, is not just a matter of bad luck or coincidence. There are unseen influences at work, and many times we unknowingly give them permission to operate. One of the most effective ways the enemy infiltrates is through what we allow into our lives. The objects we keep, the symbols we wear, the entertainment we consume. These things may seem insignificant on the surface, but they carry a deeper spiritual weight. In the Bible, we are said that people perished because of a lack of knowledge. When we do not understand the spiritual consequences of what we hold on to, we open doors to things that were never meant to have access to us. In ancient times, idols and pagan artifacts were not just decorations. They were physical representations of spiritual allegiances. Those who worshipped false gods often dedicated objects to demonic entities, and keeping such objects in one's home meant aligning oneself with that darkness. The same principle applies today. There are objects and practices that, though normalized by culture, still carry spiritual significance. Many people experience heaviness, oppression, or turmoil in their homes without realizing that something in their possession has given the enemy a foothold. Words also hold power. Spells, incantations, and curses are not just meaningless phrases. They invite spiritual forces to act. Even items that seem harmless, such as books or symbols associated with occult practices, can serve as conduits for oppression. In Bible, we are said that those who practiced sorcery in the past brought their books and burned them publicly, showing that true repentance requires not only a change of heart, but also a removal of anything that connects us to darkness. Ignoring these realities does not make them any less true. Dismissing spiritual warfare does not protect one from its effects. The enemy thrives where he is not recognized, but when we acknowledge the battle and take authority, we step into the freedom that was always meant for us. It begins with awareness and continues with action. When darkness is exposed, physical objects are not just lifeless things. They can hold influence, carrying meaning and even spiritual weight. Throughout history, people have used objects as symbols of worship, power, and allegiance, often dedicating them to spiritual forces. While modern culture tends to dismiss such things as mere superstition, the truth is that physical items can be connected to spiritual realities, both for good and for evil. Many unknowingly keep objects in their homes, wear certain symbols, or engage with items that have been dedicated to darkness, not realizing the effect these things can have on their lives. In Bible, we are said that when God's people entered the promised land, they were commanded to destroy idols, altars, and anything associated with false gods. These were not just cultural artifacts, but spiritual doorways that could lead them into bondage. Time and time again, whenever the people of God held onto objects tied to idolatry and witchcraft, they experienced oppression and distance from God. It was only when they removed those things that they were able to walk in freedom. This principle has not changed. Many who struggle with fear, anxiety, and spiritual heaviness fail to recognize that something in their possession may be attracting these things. Certain symbols, artifacts, and even items collected from different parts of the world can have spiritual significance beyond what is seen. Some objects are crafted specifically for use in rituals, ceremonies, or acts of devotion to false spirits. Even if they are received innocently, their presence can bring unwanted consequences. In Bible, we are said that a cursed object should not be kept in one's home, lest the curse itself spread. Many who have removed such things from their lives have experienced immediate peace, restoration, and clarity. Beyond objects tied to false worship, everyday entertainment also carries influence. Movies, books, and music infused with themes of darkness, rebellion, or the occult are not neutral. They shape thoughts, emotions, and spiritual atmosphere. What is continually watched and listened to begins to take root in the heart. In Bible, we are said that the eye is the lamp of the body. If the eye is filled with darkness, how great is that darkness? What one allows into their environment shapes their spiritual condition. This is why certain movies or music can leave people feeling uneasy, anxious, or even tormented. The enemy uses what seems entertaining as a tool for influence. Even heirlooms, gifts, or second-hand objects can sometimes carry spiritual baggage. Many who have experienced recurring nightmares, restlessness, or inexplicable fear have later discovered that an item in their possession was once used in ungodly practices. When such things are recognized and removed, the oppression lifts. The unseen world interacts with the physical, and what is kept in the home, worn on the body, or displayed in life, can either attract God's presence or invite the enemy. Discerning what should stay and what must be removed is crucial in living a life free from unnecessary spiritual attacks. Hidden sin is one of the greatest invitations for demonic influence. Many people assume that as long as they are not openly engaging in evil, they are spiritually safe. However, sin that remains unconfessed and unrepented creates an entry point for the enemy to operate. It does not need to be dramatic or visible. Even the secret sins of the heart can give darkness a foothold. In Bible, we are said that sin crouches at the door, desiring to have us, but we must rule over it. This means that sin is not just an act, but a force looking for permission to enter and take control. When it is left unchecked, it begins to spread, corrupting thoughts, emotions, and actions. Many who struggle with recurring temptations and spiritual heaviness do not realize that unrepented sin keeps them in bondage. Sin is not just a personal failure, it creates a spiritual connection. When someone engages in any form of wickedness, they are aligning themselves with darkness, whether knowingly or unknowingly. In Bible, we are said that whoever sins becomes a slave to sin, showing that sin is not just an action but a master that demands control. The enemy takes advantage of this, using guilt, shame, and deception to keep people trapped. He convinces them that they are too far gone, that their sin is too great to confess, or that no one will ever know. But the longer sin remains hidden, the more power it gains. Some sins are easy to recognize, while others disguise themselves in justification and compromise. Pride, unforgiveness, bitterness, and lust often start small but grow into strongholds. A grudge that is nurtured turns into hatred. A secret indulgence in impurity leads to addiction. A single lie, when not corrected, becomes a habit. In Bible, we are said that what is done in darkness will be exposed to light, and nothing is truly hidden from God. The enemy wants people to keep their sins buried because he knows that as long as they remain in secrecy, they remain in chains. Unrepented sin does not just affect the one committing it. It affects the spiritual atmosphere around them. Many experience chaos, confusion, or a lack of peace in their homes without realizing that something in their life has invited this turmoil. In Bible, we are said that those who cover their sins will not prosper, but those who confess and forsake them will receive mercy. When sin is brought into the light and repented of, its power is broken. This is why confession is more than just admitting wrong. It is severing the enemy's grip. The enemy thrives where there is secrecy, guilt, and shame. But the moment sin is acknowledged and removed, darkness loses its hold. True freedom comes not just from knowing what is wrong, but from actively turning away from it. The power of sin is real, but the power of repentance and God's forgiveness is greater. Ungodly entertainment and idols have a deeper impact on the soul than many realize. What people watch, listen to, and honor shapes their thoughts, emotions, and spiritual condition. The mind is not just a storage space for information. It is a gateway through which the spirit is influenced. When someone continually exposes themselves to darkness, it does not remain external. It takes root internally. In Bible, we are said that as a person thinks in their heart, so they are. This means that whatever is fed into the mind will eventually define actions, beliefs, and desires. The enemy knows this, which is why he uses entertainment, culture, and even seemingly innocent symbols to slowly lead people away from God. The entertainment industry often promotes things that are in direct opposition to righteousness. Movies and music filled with violence, immorality, and occult themes are not just stories, they carry spiritual influence. The more these things are consumed, the more they desensitize the heart. In Bible, we are said that the eye is the lamp of the body, and if the eye is filled with darkness, then the whole body will be full of darkness. What is watched and listened to is not just entertainment, it is an open door. This is why certain films, songs, or books leave people feeling disturbed, anxious, or spiritually weighed down. The content is not neutral. It carries the spirit of the one who created it. Beyond entertainment, idols are anything that take the place of God in the heart. They do not always come in the form of carved statues. They can be celebrities, possessions, achievements, or even relationships. Anything that demands more attention, devotion, or trust than God has become an idol. In Bible, we are said that people exchanged the glory of God for images of created things, choosing to worship what was made instead of the Creator. The danger of idolatry is that it shifts the heart's focus, leading people to seek security and fulfillment in something that can never truly satisfy. Many do not realize that certain symbols, charms, and objects associated with other spiritual practices are not just cultural artifacts. They carry meaning in the spiritual realm. Items linked to witchcraft, astrology, and false religions are not harmless. They represent allegiances. In Bible, we are said that God's people were commanded to tear down altars, break sacred pillars, and remove anything dedicated to false gods. When these things remain, they serve as spiritual connections to darkness. Some experience oppression, confusion, or unexplained struggles without realizing that something in their possession has given the enemy access. What is honored, entertained, and treasured has the power to invite either light or darkness. Many unknowingly allow the enemy a foothold by keeping things that conflict with God's presence. But when these things are removed, peace is restored. The spirit is influenced by what it continually engages with, and choosing to remove what does not align with God's truth opens the door for His presence to dwell fully. Words and curses carry spiritual weight, shaping the reality of those who speak them and those who receive them. Many underestimate the power of their words, believing them to be nothing more than sound, but in the spiritual realm, words have authority. In Bible, we are said that life and death are in the power of the tongue, showing that what is spoken can either bring blessings or destruction. The enemy understands this principle and often uses careless words, curses, and spoken agreements as legal grounds to operate in a person's life. Words, whether spoken in anger, fear, or even jest, do not simply vanish. They take root and produce fruit, either good or bad. Objects linked to curses also carry spiritual significance. Items given as part of rituals, charms meant to bring luck, and even heirlooms passed down from ancestors involved in occult practices can serve as connections to darkness. Many who struggle with sudden fear, disturbing dreams, or an unexplainable heaviness in their homes find that certain objects are the cause. In Bible, we are said that cursed items should not be kept, for they bring defilement. When these things are removed, peace is restored. Spiritual authority is something every believer has been given, but many fail to walk in it. The enemy does not have unlimited power. He operates where he is allowed. Many struggles that seem overwhelming continue not because the enemy is too strong, but because authority has not been exercised. In Bible, we are said that those who are in God have been given power to trample upon the forces of darkness, yet fear and ignorance often keep people from using that power. The enemy thrives on deception, convincing people that they are helpless, that they must tolerate oppression, or that they are too weak to resist. But the truth is that darkness cannot remain where the light of God is actively present. One of the key ways the enemy is allowed access is through fear. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a spiritual force that invites torment. In Bible, we are said that God has not given a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Fear weakens faith. causing people to doubt God's promises and hesitate in spiritual battles. The enemy uses fear to make his presence seem greater than it is. When a person is afraid to confront the darkness in their life, they unknowingly give it room to stay. Boldness in faith is necessary to remove what does not belong. Many experience ongoing spiritual attacks because they have not fully closed the doors that were once opened. It is not enough to recognize the problem. Action must be taken. In Bible, we are said that resisting the enemy causes him to flee. Resistance is not passive. It is an active stance of rejecting every influence that is not from God. This includes rejecting sinful habits, renouncing ungodly agreements, and removing anything that conflicts with righteousness. Some continue to struggle because they allow certain compromises to remain, believing they are small or insignificant. But even a small crack in a foundation can cause great destruction over time. Authority in the spiritual realm is exercised through faith and spoken declaration. Silence in the face of oppression allows it to continue. In Bible, we are said that Jesus rebuked unclean spirits with his words, and they obeyed. The same authority has been given to those who walk in alignment with God. Declaring the truth, renouncing every lie, and commanding darkness to leave in the name of God shifts the spiritual atmosphere. Victory is not achieved through human strength, but through the power that has already been given. The enemy only stays where he is permitted. When every open door is closed, every ungodly connection is removed, and faith is exercised with boldness, darkness loses its hold. The authority to walk in freedom has already been given, but it must be used. Those who understand and act on this truth will no longer be victims of oppression, but will stand firm in the power that has already been made available. The enemy operates where he is given permission, often through hidden sins, ungodly objects, entertainment, and unguarded words. Many unknowingly invite oppression by keeping things that attract darkness, tolerating spiritual compromise, or failing to exercise authority. In Bible, we are said that people perish for lack of knowledge, and ignorance of spiritual realities does not exempt one from their effects. Removing what does not belong, renouncing every ungodly connection, and speaking truth over every lie are necessary steps to freedom. The power to overcome darkness has already been given, but it must be actively used. Fear, deception, and complacency allow oppression to remain, but boldness in faith breaks every chain. In Bible, we are said that resisting the enemy causes him to flee. Those who walk in truth, remove every hindrance, and stand firm in spiritual authority will no longer be victims, but victorious in the battle for their souls.